Hi guys, DevilHunterXYZ, and this is a movie review on The Hangover Part 3. Earlier today I went to see it with my friend and and I gotta say, we really had no expectations on this movie. I mean, my friend's never really seen the first two, but I saw the other two, and I was kind of thinking it was going to be nothing more than the same as the other two movies, like rehashing the same idea. But luckily, they kind of did something a little bit more original, so it slightly redeemed itself. And it was kind of a good movie to kind of put an end to this trilogy, or hopefully put an end to this trilogy. So, I'm right. The whole movie goes like this. In the opening scene, you see a prison riot out in Bangkok. I mean, as the last movie started, last movie was in Bangkok. Anyway, the whole prison riot, and then you see Chow escaping from the prison. He tunnels his way out of it. I mean, that's nothing much an opening scene, but later you see Alan driving home on the highway with a giraffe that he just bought, and of course he tries to go under a bridge and gets beheaded, and it causes a huge wreck. And afterwards, the whole incident gets reported in the paper, and Alan's father is kind of angry for him for not owing up to what he's done, and apparently right after he said that, Alan's father gets a heart attack and dies, and the whole wolf pack attends the funeral. But while they're there, Stu, Doug, and Phil were kind of worried about Alan, so they were going to host an intervention with his friends and family, and they later decided that they were going to take Alan to rehab, but Alan will only go if the rest of the wolf pack would join him. Well, while they were driving, a man named Marshall runs them off the road, and he later confronts the wolf pack along with Black Doug, and he says that Chow stole 21 million in gold, and he says that Chow was just a bad influence. He was just a bad guy in general, and it kind of goes to a flashback where he sees Alan buying the roofing from Black Doug. I'm pretty much saying that Alan kind of screwed up the operation of trying to take down Chow back in the past. Anyway, uh, Marshall goes on to saying that the only one that Chow ever communicated with was Alan, uh, so Marshall needed the Wolfpack to go and get Chow and the rest of the money. So in order to make sure they did that, Marshall takes Doug as a hostage and well, gave him like 3 days to do the job. Right afterwards, Alan gets a text from Chow saying that they were gonna meet in Tijuana, and Stephen Phil were gonna use that to their advantage and try to drug Chow to bring it back to Marshall. But of course, Chow knew that they were gonna drug him, and so later on, Stu and Phil just confessed that they need the money in order to get back Doug. So it kind of goes on to this big scheme where Chow and the rest of the Wolfpack were going to break into one of those old homes to retrieve the money that was hidden in in the basement wall. And they managed to do that, but they found out that the home wasn't Chow's; it was actually Marshall's. So Chow ended up getting more money, and also Chow manages to steal the Wolfpack's car. And while they while they thought had no more leads, they remembered that Phil's phone was in the car. So the Wolfpack tracks down Phil's phone to a pawn shop in Vegas. And while they were there, it's like a weird love moment with Alan and the pawn shop owner. And she later tells Alan that Chow traded in a gold brick for some cash, and that he is somewhere in the city. And the Wolfpack then meets the stripper from the first movie, the one where Stu almost married, or pretty much was married. And they later found out that Chow was in a penthouse in the Caesar's Palace. And so the plan was uh, Alan and Phil, they were going to drop down from the roof onto the penthouse, which is kind of a weird weird moment right there. They try to confront Chow, but Chow manages to escape by parachuting off the building, and he was pretty much just gliding all the way down the Vegas Strip. Alright, Chow ends up landing on top of a limo that was driven by Stu, and he knocks Chow out. Then Stu ends up putting Chow in the trunk of the limo, and then also the rest of the Wolfpack manages to get the gold, and they met Marshall at some location somewhere in the desert, and they met up with a deal. So the Wolfpack manages to get Doug, and Marshall gets his money, and he starts shooting at the trunk of the limo, thinking he killed Chow. But right before that happened, Alan manages to free Chow from the trunk, and Chow then shoots Marshall and kills him. And then afterwards, kind of goes on to a scene where Alan says that he can no longer be friends with Chow because he was bad for his life and just a bad influence. And while they were about to make their way back, they pay a stop to the pawn shop, where Alan then makes a date with the pawn shop owner. And then the movie jumps ahead about 6 months later and shows Alan about to get married. And then while they're walking down the hallway, like walking outside, they just showed flashbacks of moments in the last two movies. Afterwards, there is an additional scene after the movie. Uh, Apparently, it's the next morning after the wedding, and the whole hungover thing happened again, where everyone was all confused. Pretty much the pawn shop owner, Casey and Alan, Phil and Stu woke up, and the whole hotel room is just a mess. Everything's destroyed, and it gets really kind of messed up at the end, where you see Stu in the bathroom, seen with breast implants, and then apparently it was because Chow, I guess, drugged the wedding cake, and towards the ending scene, you see Chow emerging from the room naked and swinging a samurai sword around. For the pros of the movie, like I said, this movie wasn't great, but it was a little bit more redeemable than the last one. I guess the first pro is this movie does have an original story. It's not like a complete copy and paste from the last one, thank God. I do like how they kind of tie in some of the things together from the last movies. Uh, just try to make it like the ultimate ending to this movie. And I guess as messed up as the ending scene, the one after the credits, I love how they kind of leave it open for interpretation. Kind of make it think that they might make another movie, but at the same time, it also, at least it kind of added some of that hungover element into it, because I was kind of questioning why was it called the Hangover when there really wasn't anyone hungover. Alright, for cons of the movie, I could say that well, this movie doesn't really have much humor into it, which is kind of sad since that's the only thing the Hangover movies were even good for, just to crude, mature humor. And sadly, this one doesn't have any. Uh, I mean, this movie was more straightforward, and it doesn't have those weird plot twists and any extremely hilarious moments. I mean, kind of just a few chuckles. But I guess also someone could say that this movie is a little bit dark in some parts of the movie, which is a little bit off for any Hangover movie, I guess. And I guess another con is the fact that this movie doesn't really offer anything new that we didn't know from the characters, and it doesn't really seem to benefit, or it doesn't really add anything new to this whole trilogy. And it just kind of seems a little bit off, this movie. Like, it kind of feels like the movie doesn't really belong with the other two. Alright, in conclusion, I can say this movie is, I guess, decent when it comes to ending this trilogy, or hopefully ending this trilogy. But I guess my overall score would probably be like a 4 out of 10. I mean, this movie doesn't really offer anything new, but it does kind of put everything together from the other movies. Um, I mean, if you're planning on seeing this movie, just don't have any high expectations. I mean, it's just not really the greatest movie ever. It's just not like Star Wars or James Bond. Um, I mean, even some say it's probably one of the worst movies, but I mean, I guess if you're into this kind of crude and mature humor, I guess this would kind of be somewhat okay. Anyway, this is DevilHunterXYZ, and until next time.